Hello and welcome to a new episode on What Does This Data Say? I'm Ajay Prakash. Today I'll be talking about Modi's Vikas, the great illusion. The story of India's development did not begin in 2014. It began in 1947 when a wounded nation rose from the ruins of colonial rule. India then was poor, hungry, divided. 80% of the people could not read or write. Life expectancy was barely 40. The treasury was empty, the fields were barren, and the air filled with uncertainty. And yet, in that hour of despair, one man dared to dream: Jawaharlal Nehru. Nehru did not sell slogans, he built foundations. He gave India the IITs and IIMs to nurture scientific and managerial excellence. He built the great dams of Bhakra Nangal, Hirakund, and Nagarjun Sagar, calling them the temples of modern India. He laid the foundations of the public sector, setting up steel plants in Bhilai, Durgapur, and Rourkela, not to make profit, but to make a nation self reliant. He expanded the railways, built bridges, modernized ports, and connected a new republic that has just been cut apart by partition. He created the Airports Authority, nationalized Air India, and built the country's first generation of airports. All this when India had nothing: no money, no reserves, no technology, no experience. Numerous prestigious universities were set up during Nehru's period. To name a few: Punjab University, Chandigarh, 1947; Guwahati University, 1948; Gujarat University, 1949; Kurukshetra, 1956; Birla Institute of Technology, 1955. And just to remind viewers, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's master's degree is from Gujarat University, a Nehru era institution. He received Master of Arts in Entire Political Science in 1983 as an external distance learning student. Of course, there are several controversies around this degree of Prime Minister Modi. Between 1947 and 1964, in just 17 years, Nehru transformed a poor, broken country into a functioning modern state. And he did it while India fought two wars, in 1947 with Pakistan and in 1962 with China. He did not inherit wealth, he created prosperity out of poverty. No television cameras, no hashtags, no PR machinery, just a vision that India's future would be built on education, science, and inclusion. Now compare that with today. A prime minister who mocks Nehru in every speech while standing on the platforms that Nehru built. The IITs where Modi delivers speeches were Nehru's dream. The public sector enterprises that Modi is now privatizing were Nehru's creation. The dams that irrigate Modi's new India were Nehru's legacy. If Nehru built with empty coffers, Modi inherited a $1 trillion economy and still spends more time claiming credit than creating progress. And that is where the myth of Modi's Vikas begins. The government loves to boast that it builds 10,000 kilometers of highways a year. But what happens after the ribbon is cut? In Bihar, the Aguvani Sultanganj bridge collapsed twice before it even opened. In Gujarat, the Morbi bridge tragedy killed more than 130 people only months after renovation. In Madhya Pradesh and Jharkhand, new bridges cracked within a year. Speed has replaced safety, quantity has replaced quality. Politically connected contractors win tenders, audits are ignored, maintenance is forgotten. Development is not a race, it's a responsibility. When a bridge collapses, it's not concrete that fails, it's public trust. We built 74 new airports, they claim. But step inside some of them and you'll hear silence. Kushinagar International Airport in Uttar Pradesh, 260 crore rupees spent, barely a few flights a week. Sholapur Airport in Maharashtra, 350 crore, no commercial flights. Kaluburagi Airport in Karnataka, almost empty. Over 30 airports built under the Uran scheme lie idle or severely underutilized. These are not airports, they are monuments to photo ops. The planes never took off, only the propaganda did. The Navi Mumbai International Airport is sold today as a Modi era achievement. In truth, it was conceived in 2007. Originally handled by the GVK Group under Sanjay Reddy, the project dragged on through delays and red tape. Then, under financial pressure and political maneuvering, GVK quit, and in 2021, the Adani Group took over. What should have been ready by 2014 is still unfinished in 2025, a delay of more than 10 years. Now on to the railways. The Indian Railways once symbolized inclusivity. Today it's becoming a showcase for elites. Second sleeper coaches are being phased out, replaced with more profitable air conditioned coaches. Tatkal tickets surge dynamically, sometimes costing as much as AC fares. Advance booking windows have been shortened, forcing poor travelers into last minute high price tickets. And seniors who once enjoyed a small concession now pay full fare, a benefit withdrawn in 2020 and never restored. The result, a railway that looks modern on the outside but feels cruel from the inside. This isn't reform, it's exclusion. When comfort becomes a privilege, the poor are left standing on the platform. The government proudly calls the Jammu Srinagar Baramulla line Modi's gift to Kashmir. But the truth is, it's a project 40 years in the making. Conceived by the Congress in the 1980s, driven forward by Atal Bihari Vajpayee in the early 2000s, who approved the massive Pir Panjal tunnel, and finally completed under Modi. A joint effort across generations, not a one man miracle. Development, after all, is continuity, not monopoly. Let's look at some of other Modi's promises, from Make in India to the more recent Swadeshi. When Make in India was launched in 2014, it came with a thunderous promise to turn India into a manufacturing superpower, a slogan that would make the world make for India. The target was 25% of our GDP from manufacturing and 100 million new jobs. But 10 years later, the numbers tell a different story. Manufacturing still hovers around 16 to 17% of our GDP, exactly where it was before 2014. The jobs never came, the factories never filled. What we got instead were glossy investor summits, policy PDFs, and a few assembly plants disguised as manufacturing hubs. Then the Skill India. Skill India was supposed to train a new generation of workers for these industries. But what did we really create? A certification machine with no real employability. Lakhs of youth were trained, but only a fraction ever got jobs. Industries kept complaining that the skills did not match their needs. And Stand Up India, launched to fund women SCST entrepreneurs, became another form filling exercise. Banks disburse small loans, but few startups survive. The real barriers, land, credit, and mentoring, were never broken. Together, these schemes were meant to be India's golden triangle: manufacture, skill, and entrepreneurship, feeding one another. Instead, we got three disconnected slogans: big on banners, thin on substance. India did not fail because its people lacked talent. It failed because policy making turned into marketing. And now the latest slogan, Swadeshi. Modi is urging us to buy local, to shun imports, to be Atmanirbhar. But the irony is hard to ignore. India's imports from China have kept rising every single year. In 2024-25, trade with China touched $127 billion with a 80 billion deficit. From mobile phones to APIs for medicine, we still depend on Beijing for the nuts and bolts of our economy. You can't shout Swadeshi while importing your circuits, screens, and solar panels. Self-reliance needs a foundation of raw materials, R&D, and manufacturing depth. Without it, Make in India becomes just assemble in India. Swadeshi isn't about boycott, it's about building an ecosystem. And until that happens, every call for self-reliance will remain just another illusion of Vikas. In 2021, the Prime Minister launched PM Gati Shakti, the so-called National Master Plan for Multimodal Connectivity. It promised to integrate roads, rail, ports, and airports through a single digital platform. On paper, revolutionary. On ground, disappointing. Take a look. In Hyderabad, the airport sits 5 kilometers away from the nearest train line. No metro connection. In Bangalore, a suburban station was hurriedly built near the airport. Almost no passengers use it. In Delhi, even after years of planning, Terminals 1 and 3 of IGI Airport still lack a direct rail or metro link between them. Navi Mumbai's upcoming airport has no metro, no suburban rail plan yet. Mumbai's old Santa Cruz Airport remains unconnected to the new Navi Mumbai Airport. So much for multimodal connectivity. Gati Shakti was supposed to bring synergy. Instead, ministries still work in silos. Railways plan alone, metros plan alone, airports plan alone. Across every sector, the same pattern repeats. Old ideas, new names. Old projects, new claims. The dedicated freight corridors, Udan, Pradhan Mantri Gramin Sadak Yojana, Smart Cities Mission, all were conceived before 2014. Yet every completion is marketed as Modi's vision. Governance has turned into branding, the continuity of democracy replaced by the monopoly of images. A ribbon is cut, a camera flashes, and history is rewritten. Let's add it up. Roads built fast, collapsing faster. Airports shiny but half empty. Railways costlier, less inclusive. Gati Shakti big on talk, low on coordination. Meanwhile, the welfare fabric tears. Public assets are sold off, concessions are cut. Everything that once served the people now serves the market. Development is not about crores of rupees spent, it's about citizens served. It's not about PowerPoint, it's about the people. Jawaharlal Nehru built when India had nothing. Narendra Modi boasts when India has everything. Nehru laid the foundation of the republic, Modi rebrands it. Nehru united a wounded nation, Modi divides it with slogans. This is the difference between creation and credit seeking, between substance and showmanship. The truth is simple. Real Vikas doesn't need applause. It needs accountability. Real leaders don't erase legacies, they build upon them. India's story of progress is not one man's tale. It's the collective labor of millions workers, engineers, farmers, scientists, and dreamers who believed in a shared destiny. And that story deserves honesty because nations don't grow through speeches, they grow through sincerity, sacrifice, and truth. I'm Ajay Prakash. Thank you for listening.